All right, so we're doing another quick update on this Mustang Pete's car. We did end up getting the battery charger. I know it's been a while. We got the battery charger. We charged the battery up. That's all cool. Now we got the whole front end out of it. So what are we doing? Well, the caster and the camber and all the wheel alignment stuff was all kind of jacked up. So the car sits so low that the wheels were like tilted in like that. So we're gonna modify the top of the tower. We can't use that spring because that spring is the way it's shaped like a beehive style. When this goes on here, right, you see how much space there is between here and here. So it actually hits the top up there. Yo, I'm coming. It hits the top of this, so you can't move the top of the, so this needs to sit like, right now it's sitting like this. It needs to sit further in so we can get it sitting flush and straight 0 degrees on the side, right? So when you're looking at it like this from the front, the wheels were sitting like that. And then as you raise the car up, it wants to go up, but they're still not straight. So we're gonna try to find a happy medium where when the car is at ride height and moving up and down in its travel, you want it to stay as clean as you can going up and down. So we're probably gonna raise the car up for, I don't know. He's having a hard time getting it in and out of trailers and stuff like that with this nose on it. So we might raise it up a ½ inch or something, maybe an inch or something in the front, and then level it back off when we do all the measurements in the back. We still got to go do all the 4-link stuff. And we got to reset. We got to make sure we got to reset the distributor cam sync and the crank sync. So we're going to bring everything up to top dead center. Last video was fixing all this stuff on the heads. So all that's done, all that's back together. We're going to bring everything up to top dead center and set all that stuff up when I'm done with this. So I want to get this side done, make sure this works. I ordered a set of springs. They just showed up. So got a set of 125, same spring rate as what's in there. The only difference is these are 2.5s, right? Full 2.5. So let me show you how these sit. So you'll see the difference. All right, so you see how much space there is there, right? So now if we take that off, you put these on. Right now they're right up against it, and you got a good, I mean, probably 3/4 of an inch to an inch more clearance that we could come out. So 14-inch 125s, and then what we'll do is once that's all in the car, we'll set it all up and scale it and everything. And if we got to go more or less, we could, but those will probably be right. I mean, it was sitting on the 125s. And these are actually a little bit shorter. So if you look at it, all right, like that, that's 1 inch difference. So that 1 inch difference, if we set it back up to the same height it was before, it'll pick it up. I mean, but this spring was, when it's in here, it's sitting way up like that. So we have a lot of room to play with. All right, so that's what we're doing. We're gonna have to modify all this. These bolts are way too long for this. They're all galled up on the bottom because they went through and they were hitting the top of the bracket or whatever they were hitting under there. All right, so we'll show you what we're doing. All right, so here's what we're gonna do now. So you see how these holes are slotted for the plate, and it was sitting right about here before. So we're gonna try to move it. Actually, it was sitting like that. So we're gonna move it all the way over as far as it'll go. And then what I'll do is I'll take this, because this starts to get round coming up like that. So I'll take this and machine that down so it's got a round edge to it. And it'll sit all the way up against here like that. It'll come all the way up to here, so we'll gain about, probably a half inch. Probably about a half inch. So hopefully that'll do it, because they can't get no more than that. The only other thing you'd have to do would be to either shorten the control arms. They're all the way already tucked all the way in. Or, yeah, you'd have to shorten the control arms. That's about all you could do. So let's see what we get with that. I mean, worst comes to worst, if the control arms are straight in those two spots, we can always cut them back a little bit and re-weld new bungs on them if we have to. But let's try the top first and see how far we get. All right, so drill these out and then file them down to open them up. All right, so I'll show you what I'm doing. So I made a hole, take the Sawzall, cut the hole out, trim that piece back, and then we're just gonna ream the hole a little bit to make it the same size as the other one. And make sure the bolts go through, which the bolts will actually go through that, no problem later. And we gotta get all the little bolts because these are shot. Look at this one. We gold everything up. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that, but we gotta figure something out with that too. All right, so let me finish cutting all these. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay. Got that all ready. So now, because it's round or curved here, so we got that. Yep. That's gonna go on there. Holes will clear, but if I bevel this edge a little bit, it'll fit better and it'll come over even more. So we're gonna go do that next. All right, so I took the spherical end off, right? So we can lay this thing flat on there. We'll put a spacer on it, give it a little bit of an angle, and run the mill right across it on the bottom. Take that little corner off. I think that's going to be enough. I'm going to go check it, and if not, I'll go down a little bit more. All right, back over here. Oh yeah. Now we can move it all the way over to there, and it still sits flat where it's supposed to. All right, so we actually moved it from here. We went from here all the way over to here, like that. All right, so to clean this up, I'm gonna nut and bolt this to here, because this thing's shot. This thing is all ripped up. I'm gonna nut and bolt this to this. I'm gonna go get some nice grade 8 bolts and nut and bolt this to this. And the other thing is I'm gonna clearance that in there. And see this little line I made right here? I'm gonna clearance that little bit right there. And now we should be good. All right, so the next step is gonna be, so this thing's all messed up here. All right, so I'm gonna grind these off. Get 3/8 bolts, weld nuts on each one of these. This way they'll line up. And then this is gonna go in here, like that. That'll still work because it'll come all the way over, right? Nice, just like that. Can't go no farther, so that's actually perfect. All the holes line up. This one could even go further in, so that's good. Like that, like that. That's good. So, clean that little spot up. No problem. And weld these nuts on this thing. We'll be able to put this back on. So then we'll stick this back on, and then the strut could come up. This will be in place. And I could check and see how much clearance we got with the strut. And then, like I said, worst comes to worst, we'll just trim this little plate back that's in there a little bit, but I don't think we're going to even have to do that. If we do need to go more, then what we're going to do is we're going to end up cutting these ends back a little bit. Could probably take a 1/4 inch off each one, no problem. See how that goes. Alrighty, next step, let's go grind this thing. Alright, so I drilled those out. We're going to hook them to the bottom of this, the way they're supposed to be sitting on here. I'm going to stick the bolts through it, put a nut on it. I'm going to weld the new nut onto the end of those. If I grind them off, then they're going to be all cockeyed, but these will fit right through. I drilled through them, so they're all nice and clean. They'll go right through. Right, and then we'll be able to put this back together and stick this in the car and see how it works. All right, got them all tacked on. Good to go. Let it sit down for a little while. I'll unbolt everything. This will be for the other side. Good. All right, so look at that. Got full range motion now, all the way to here. So it was sitting like that. Now we coming all the way over here. We can go all the way back, all the way forward. Pretty much everywhere we want to go. All right? Good. That sits nice and flush. All right. So I'm going to tighten it down in that spot. I'm going to put the strut back in. So I'll put the strut back together, put the strut in it, and then we'll see what it sits like. I'll set it as far back as I could get it, and as far over as I could get it. And then we'll let the whole car down, and we'll check one side to the other side. All right, so we got the strut back in place. Everything fit nice. I got that set where the other one was sitting before, so it's going to pick it up a little bit. All this went back together nice, and that's all good. So you could see how much room we picked up there to there. So it don't look like a lot, but it is, like I said. And then worst scenario is we end up cutting the bottom. So I'm getting ready to put the wheel back on. There's like no grease in there. That thing's dry. So there's a little grease on the bearings, but we're going to pack that in there, get that ready, repack the bearings, put this back on. I'm not going to put the caliper back on just yet in case I got to take it back off because they're a pain in the ass. But put the wheel back on and we'll set it down on the ground and see what it sits like. All right, got it on the ground. It's still not even close. So with it moved, this side was worse. So with this side moved in, it's still 3.6 degrees out. This one, the way it was, is 2.9 degrees out. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, but then when I got this side off, I'm gonna cut the inside of the arms. So we're gonna take this side back apart, take it back off, take the strut out of the way, take the arm out, and cut the arm down. We're gonna have to take like a 1/2 inch off the arm and bring the bottom of the wheel about a 1/2 inch in. All right, here we go. Back at it. Okay. Got it apart. I'm gonna take that inside. See what we gotta do by shortening them. All right, so we chopped them off. right? What I do with it? I got one on the lathe already, so I chopped the ends off. We cleaned the ends up, and then, all right, so they look like that. So we're gonna clean it up, all right, like that, and then we'll be able to reuse them, all right? So machine them off. So we took an inch off. Josh just
plug welded it.
Welded them back up. Rosebud welded the little holes. I'll let that cool off for a minute, and then we'll go stick it back in there. I'm gonna run the tap through it real quick, make sure they're clean, the threads. Put the Heim joints back in it. We'll go in there and try to put it back on and see what it looks like, and hopefully we're good. Okay, so we got everything back together under there. Not tight. We got it all back together just to make sure. And this is where we're at. We got the caster, camber, right? Let's see if you can see it. All right, look at that, right on the money. So we're good. That all lines up. So now we could do the other side. Well, I gotta tighten all this back up. So I'm gonna get the wheel back off, tighten everything now, because I put the bolts in, but I didn't tighten them all. Get all that tightened up. The wheel is centered in the wheelhouse here, whatever, in the fender. Tighten all that back up, tighten this back up, put the cap back on here, put the brakes back on this side. The height, we're gonna mess with that later, but I think it needs to go up an inch or half an inch or something. So we're gonna definitely go up a little bit with it, right? And then put the brakes back on, and we'll go take the other side apart. So it looks good. So that's what's gonna fix it.
Do the same thing. Cut the end off. We'll mill the. I already got one of them. Mill the thread part of it off, and we can use that to clevis in. Cut them off, clean the end of it back off, we'll mill the weld off of it. That's it. We did 1 inch.
Yep, same as the other one.
I'll clean them up and then I'll weld them back on.
I'll run them on the lathe again and clean them up. I think that's enough.
This is as much as we took off the other side, so.
They were
11 and a half.
11 and a half. Well, from the ball joint. From here to here is 11 plus that. So it was, once we put that back on.
Okay.
All right, we'll get these lined up. All right, so we got these all set. All right, Josh is gonna weld these up, and I'm gonna go. All right, and I'm in here. So I got these holes oblong. I just gotta clean them up with the file, and then I don't know what the heck was going on with this. So see how these bolts are they sit flush. This one was sticking out, eating into the metal. That's why this one wouldn't even move. So straighten that back out a little bit. Got to get a shorter bolt for that. And I'm going to finish this up, and then we can put this back together. I can put the strut back in. I got that ready to go. He'll have the arm ready. We'll put it back together. Hopefully we get this thing on the ground again tonight. be done with it. All right, so got this thing machined like the other side. Got the bolts, the nuts welded on this. Put this back together. Josh is done welding. We're gonna be putting it back together.
Ain't dry.
Yeah. All right, so we got it all back in together. Setting the spring height, putting the lock on it now. We'll lock that together. Then we got to put the shock sensor
Where's the
back on.
You got both.
Yeah. All right. And then we're done as far as this goes. We'll let it down and check everything, put the brake back on and all that. But we're going to have to do a wheel alignment. I think we're going to end up having to cut the tie rod ends. Shorten them up a little bit. So we'll see. Check that again. And
Get on the money.
beautiful. So we're good with that. We didn't even have to cut that much of that one in there, so but it's good. So now we got plenty of adjustment any which way you want to go. All right, so the last thing to do now is wheel alignment, which is
Yeah.
the toe in and toe out,
Because
and that's it. Yeah,
this one's
one
pointing a
this
little,
way,
little
one
far.
this way. So we'll get that
This one's-
straightened out. And that's it. And then we give it a nut and bolt all the way front and back.
Yep.
We got to make a hook to hook it in the front. And hopefully the next video you'll see it'll be running.
Yep.
All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we good. Let's go eat.
Food. It's dinner time. It's getting dark out.
Long day today with this thing.